In 1814, the Himalayan foothills were violently shifting. The Gorkha Kingdom of Nepal was aggressively pushing its borders outward, absorbing neighboring territories and expanding its mountain domain. Looking at this historical map of South Asia, you can see exactly where the collision course was set. In the northern mountains, you have the Gorkha Kingdom, and dominating the southern plains, you have the rapidly expanding British East India Company. The friction along this boundary was constant. Both sides were claiming the exact same fertile valleys and vital trade routes that connected the remote highlands down to the plains. For the East India Company, securing these borders was a simple matter of protecting profit. But for Nepal, fighting an industrialized global power was a matter of sheer national survival. The first major test of that survival happened at Nalapani, a small strategic fort near modern-day Dehradun. The commander tasked with holding it was a Nepalese officer named Balbhadra Kunwar. This diagram shows the scale of his problem. Kunwar had about 600 people to defend the fort, and that number included women and children. Marching toward them was a heavily armed British column, numbering in the thousands. Look at this photograph of British forces from the era on a march. They traveled with a massive logistical tail, ensuring a steady supply of food, medical care, and ammunition. The defenders at Nalapani, by contrast, had whatever they could carry inside the walls. The British commanders ran the math and concluded Nalapani was barely a speed bump. They expected to march in and take the fort in a matter of hours. The assault began with a punishing artillery barrage. The British plan was straightforward: use heavy cannons to splinter Nalapani's stone and timber walls, then march their infantry straight through the gaps. But as British soldiers charged the gamished walls, they were funneled into narrow choke points. Kunwar's troops fired from elevated positions, turning the breaches into deadly traps that neutralized the massive British numerical advantage. The assault devolved into chaos. Trying to rally his faltering troops, the British commander, Major General Robert Gillespie, charged forward and was shot dead by a Nepalese defender. Losing a general in a skirmish they expected to win by lunchtime paralyzed the British chain of command. They completely halted their advance, suddenly realizing that brute force was not going to break Nalapani. A garrison of 600 mountain fighters had successfully stopped the military momentum of the world's most powerful empire dead in its tracks. Unable to win by direct assault, the British switched to a siege. Engineers surveyed the hillside, located the single external stream supplying the fort, and completely cut the flow of water. Inside the fort, the situation deteriorated rapidly. Dehydration set in under the harsh mountain sun. Without water to clean wounds, infections spread among the injured, and the food stores quickly ran dry. The psychological pressure compounded the physical agony. The defenders could easily hear the distant sounds of the British camp, horses being watered and rations being cooked, while they slowly starved. The British offered terms of surrender, expecting the desperate conditions to finally break the Nepalese resolve. Balbhadra Kunwar tore up the letter. Military strategy no longer mattered. The battle had devolved into a pure, raw test of human endurance. After weeks of siege, with almost no provisions left and the walls crumbling around them, the surviving defenders made a final decision. They would not surrender, and they refused to quietly die in a cage. Kunwar and the remaining 70 survivors simply opened the gates. Drawing their kukris, the traditional curved Nepalese blades, they marched directly out of the fort. They walked right past the stunned British lines to drink from a nearby stream. Nobody fired a shot. In fact, witnessing this display of pure defiance from a completely defeated force, the British troops lowered their weapons and offered a military salute to their enemies. The broader Anglo-Nepalese War continued until 1816. The British eventually won through sheer industrial and logistical weight, forcing Nepal to sign a treaty that ceded a significant amount of territory. You can see the geopolitical result on this map from 1856. The vast pink areas show British control, dominating the subcontinent, right up to the mountain border labeled Nepal. But while the empire consolidated its political power, the sheer willpower displayed at Nalapani meant the spirit of Nepal was never conquered.
नमस्ते हजुरहरूले लोक ज्ञान आर्ट्सलाई माया गरिदिनु होला लाइक शेयर कमेन्ट गरिदिनु होला धन्यवाद